gone to the market with a BMS system to help control the front of the stores, the inventory being regulated in the back, and it helps in the bottom line and everything. So what we've asked today is a gentleman by the name of Mitch Friedman. He is a retail subject matter expert, been in the industry forever. Mitch has over 20 years experience in the retail market with some of the largest retailers in the world. So Mitch, if you want to go ahead and start the presentation, that'd be great.
Sure, thank you very much. Appreciate the introduction. Okay, so what we'd like to talk about today is really what has been top of mind and most compelling to all of the footwear retailers and brands in the marketplace today. Doing wide surveys and discussions at multiple retail conferences, we seem to find that in Monday morning meetings, some of the top of mind issues from an operational standpoint actually bridge to a lot of what we're hearing today across the enterprise as far as some of the merchandising decisions, marketing decisions, and customer engagement. So we decided to address 5 of the most important areas of discussion today among major retailers, both large and small, and understanding that there are multiple different models for these retailers, all the way from vertical brands to department stores supporting multiple brands, to outlet stores, to even online businesses today. So the 5 areas that we're going to talk about is ways, obviously, one that's always important to everyone, especially coming into the fourth quarter, is, how do we increase revenue and margin, and also doing that by conversion. And today, why is customer experience important to all of that? Second of all, we all know that operationally in stores, it's kind of like a roller coaster. We have our high points and our slow points. Floor management is easy to do in the slower points, but when we have those high traffic times, our floors become cluttered. Boxes and shoes tend to get stepped on that have been brought out for sampling from the back room. There's a bit of disorganization. There are times when we go back and actually look for stock, thinking that it is in stock, and it's actually out on the floor and been brought out by another associate. Remember also that more and more from Steve Jobs over, we're learning about active store and why perception is important today to basically maximize the opportunity of customer engagement. We also realize that where we place and how we merchandise visually on a floor can have a lot to do with velocity of sell-through and curbing a lot of end-of-season markdowns and red lines per se. One of the more important things today is to bring efficiency and organization into our backroom inventory capacity per se. A lot of times, and today we're going to speak about the processes that are actually ahead in the merchandise, location, channel planning, and assortment planning processes that actually are disconnected from the actual execution during simple allocation strategies in season. More importantly, we'll want to streamline the stock flow. One of the most, shall we say, excruciating problems that I always had as a CEO is to walk in a store and have associates complain about stock outs of some of their particularly top 50 key items, and me walk into the back rooms and actually find that there's a box sitting under 3 others that actually has inventory. So the ability to quickly access this inventory, spending more time in front of customer, is something else that we're going to talk about today. So how do we go about this? Our solution is not only intuitive, but easy to train people on. So even new associates can pick this up very quickly, in fact, actually increasing their productivity at a very special rate of speed compared to traditional learning practices and processes we have in place. So let's talk for a moment about customer experience. Customer experience and the brand promise today are probably two of the most talked about and understood necessities to focus on to increase your market share within a business. Customers more and more today are becoming more particular and looking for personalized experiences. They want more than the best price. They're actually looking today for trusted advisors and people who can actually steer, engineer, and help them make these purchasing decisions and also accelerate the emotion around the buying experience. Remember that every time a customer comes in contact with any person or process within your company, a perception is being made. So when we talk about the importance of customer experience and ranking, I hear major retailers today at conferences saying that it is actually their #1 challenging problem that they're trying to improve on. Mostly because this is a new phase that we're moving into, because how you provide experience to a millennial, like my 20-odd-year-old daughters, and somebody more in the 40 to 60 age group, or minorities across the whole buying public, really needs to be personalized today, both from a cultural and a different type of approach of engagement. So how do we do that? We basically allow each customer to engage with our trusted advisors. And keep that in mind. We want our salespeople to get away from, "Can I help you today?" Because the standard line really is, "No, I'm just looking." So the ability to bring intelligence and engagement to that model has been very, very successful, as demonstrated by Apple stores and many other retailers across the world. Maybe something as a greeting today as, "So did you attend the parade downtown, or are you coming from the street fair across the square?" This is a much more level of partnership, and the trusted advisor is built on the credibility and advice they will give them in engagement ring. Once you've brought them into that model, it's very important that you stay in front of them and keep them engaged. Our current operational model of process and waiting on customers today sometimes means that salespeople go away for 5 to 7 minutes away from the customer. And they wonder a lot of times why they come back and find an empty chair. Remember, these are emotional decisions. And secondarily, you are finding that your brand is why they're there. They didn't come looking for a specific product or a specific SKU necessarily. They have bought into the brand promise. One of the most important things, and the most elusive, shall we say, is really dealing with lost opportunity, the part that no one wants to talk about. We understand that investing in promotions, the way we merchandise, can increase revenue, turn, and sales, but we need to basically find a way to deal with that lost opportunity. Our way of engaging today needs to be improved. So what does that really mean? Think about this. Potentially I walk into one of the stores, I engage with one of your salespeople, looking for that trusted advisor. I describe to them a social event or a social need that I may have. Instead of them going away and actually coming back with 6 or 7 boxes of shoes, of which most won't even fit my perception of what I was thinking about, because maybe I'm a bad communicator, they actually were able to take an iPad or a digital device and help them to actually dial in exactly to the style, the color, and the different attributes, whether it be comfort, whether it be longevity, whether it be for a dress occasion or a casual event. In that way, they're not only able to show me what potentially you have for those size and color options that you may have in stock on the store, but potentially touch some of the environment outside the store to unique assortments that may have been developed for your omni-channels, or possibly even an outlet line within your company. One of the things that really can help is to really get a hold of floor management. This has been a frustrating area for so many store management individuals over the years, whether it be in apparel, whether it be in footwear. It really is a problem, and I think that we've all known for a long time. There's been a lot of talk and even books in the industry about what's called active shop. And that is where the perception of the buying experience starts from outside your doorway. How do you merchandise the front of your store? How neat is it? Does there seem to be activity, or are there quote-unquote vultures waiting to pounce on people? All of this has to do with people's ability to and desire to really go ahead and spend money in your store. Remember, you're spending a lot of money per customer, and it's calculated to get them to come into your store. Now you need to make good on that investment. So the perception is everything to a customer, and that means from the neatness of your store, the merchandising quality, your association of adjacent items around collections, and the ability in the way and the manner in which your people engage with them during the buying process. So today, a real question for all of you to ask yourselves would be, how do you manage your markdowns and your shrink on an annual basis today? I know that when I was the CEO, one of the things we did is we just found that depending on store grade and velocity, we actually entered a percentage of that actual revenue to be showing as shrink. Then within the markdown process, we just ran that into our margin factor based upon the cost of sale and paper costing if we actually had commissioned salespeople on the floor. So understanding how to stop that is really, really important, because there is a lot of box damage, not so much necessarily damage to the physical product, but if I'm going to buy a pair of $150 shoes today, I want the presentation that I'm receiving to be stellar. The old saying that you don't park a Ferrari on a dirt lot to sell it really applies here. So how do you manage your associates, and how do you really tend to get better performance? In other words, what's the change management? Well, I think the change and challenge really that most management folks face with their associates is that it is very hard to track the hard factual data, to sit down with an associate and be able to lead them along a channel of better performance. Our solution provides a unique experience so that you understand on a time-based period when activity occurs. It helps you understand who is the associate who did not comply with the directed putback, and realistically, who is contributing to this disorganized floor management. Now that you have this data and you have a system that will help you enforce this type of compliance, it's much easier to sit with an associate in a non-confrontational way and be able to guide them as to why it's dollars in their pocket as well to comply with the goals that the store management has laid out. So the true value of perception, the thing that we would love to have the most in an active store, what are the top three things? One is cleanliness. Cleanliness of our personnel, cleanliness of our floor, cleanliness of the sales area. Number two, a lot of customer activity. When you walk by an Apple store today, the genius of the whole thing, and I've walked into a multiple of them and asked the managers, how many folks are in here really looking to buy? And he says on average, I hear about 18 to 22%. That means 70-something percent to 80-something percent are really in there playing and having fun, but they're exposing themselves to the value of the brand. And that's something that particularly for our branded customers, remember, the perception of your brand is being made out in the marketplace today. Very little that you really can do today to set market perception. You really need to rely on efficient, controlled, lively store activity, as well as make sure that in your omni-channel, you are targeting and personalizing experiences in the best possible manner. So the true value of perception of the active store, it really makes people want to buy. There's a willingness for people when they see a lot of people in there saying that they can't all be wrong. I want to be one of them. Someone once nicely said that it was the herd mentality. I'm not so sure that that's so far from the truth. People don't make decisions well on their own, particularly when it's their own. These are ways that we actually can help. So why is floor presentation important? We know that a lot of the consumer product companies, markets, and those fast-moving consumer goods, drugstores, spend millions of dollars studying traffic flow, placement, planogramming, all of these different types of space planning and floor planning. Well, part of the reason is there's been many, many years of studies that have shown us that positioning and where we place inventory has a direct effect, basically, on decision processes that are made subconsciously by consumers when they actually walk through a store. So why is ready to sell important? Because we have to tie the whole process together. In other words, the initial inventory plan needs to be tied to the flow plan, our allocations, tied to understanding what's trending in our individual stores and make sure we have adequate inventory, both in the size and colorway, to be able to address that. These are important ways to convert sales that are there waiting to happen if we don't get it right. So a lot of the merchandising decisions we will make are based on sales. But really, are they tied all the way back through our whole merchandising decision processes? This is an area that companies are striving more and more today to really perfect, particularly if you are a company that is vertical and you make your own product. Thus, your whole PLM process is really based on needing to get frontline information, details, and analytics, and that information back to the people making the line assortment decisions and the actual design decision. It's important because the more you unify the total vision of what you're trying to do, from initial ideation all the way to presentation, will automatically increase not only your revenue, but you will find that your margin will increase dramatically. Red lines are not only bad decisions based upon a buyer making an inconclusive thought or decision. It's really about execution of the idea that they actually thought of during that planning process, which we all know could have been months and months. So the one size doesn't really fit all. One thing that our solution will really help you understand is the nature of your buying community. More and more importantly today, we're finding that it is very hard to group stores on very high-level metrics such as sales, square footage, size, things of that nature. It really more and more is becoming something that we need to understand our individual store and be able to understand how to send that information and share that information back through the supply chain so that mid-season and bi-monthly updates to the inventory flow coming into our stores can actually be adjusted to help support our sales that we see, because we are closest to the trends as they emerge from our customers. Having the right solution to be able to understand those and be able to communicate those are very, very much something that money can't even begin to discover how much the results could be and how good that could be for us. So floor planning does really matter. No matter how you want to do it, whether promotional, whether brand status, there's a lot of things that go into the thinking about where you're going to place things on the floor and what you're going to feature. Remember, sometimes understanding that slow-moving inventory can be not just because of a lack of popularity, but potentially because you have a placement that really is affecting the velocity of sell-through on that product. What you really need to do is try, maybe for a half week or a week or across a weekend, and move that to a front-loaded position, maybe on a rounder or a greeter or something of that nature. and see if that velocity picks up. My bet, most likely it probably will. So here's a challenge that has challenged retailers probably since the birth of brick and mortar. Today, we understand that even with omni-channels and our quick abilities to deliver, when we're dealing with an emotional-based purchase, it's very important that we bring closure to that purchase in the most effective and enjoyable way for the customer. Again, this is the perception of the customer's experience. So one of the most important things is understanding today, and I hear this a lot out of retailers, and I remember my own challenges as senior management within a retail chain, which was, how do we understand our backroom capacities? Well, to be honest, at least from my standpoint, what I hear the most, and I was guilty of it too, is I went back to my leaseholds and I actually looked at them, and either we calced a percentage and or were able to take it based on certain wall measurements. But at the end of the day, they were very inaccurate, because the ability for capacity isn't just width and length. It's height, it's total volume, it's structure of our storage facilities, it's flow, and it's the way that we choose to inventory our products. So the ability for us to help tie back into the location and store decision planning way back in the merchandising process, it really leads and defines to a much tighter and more accurate assortment plan, is really vital in being able to capture and convert more sales on a daily basis. This allows us to perfect the winners and understand that we could fit another 3 or 4 boxes even. We understand that we're dealing with master packs and tertiary containers, but we can also understand how best to deal with those when we really have a handle on what the capacity is. Also, in-season allocation. If your company is doing any more than very primitive buy one, sell one, or 3 weeks of forward cover, things of that nature, then this is an ability to really fine-tune that supply chain and be able to get inventory flow where we're really topping off our capacity, but yet we're keeping our holding costs down to a minimum, because we're understanding the flow of our back rooms and the capacity of utilization in the same way that we look at forward DCs and do that type of plan as well. So understanding a better way to calculate inventory capacity, we'd be happy to sit down and show you and share with you a much more contemporary approach that will add dollars to your bottom line. When you're dealing with seasonal sets, one of the challenges we have is that, you know, we're dealing with climate issues here. We're dealing with different types of sporting issues. These are areas where we understand the seasonality, but one of the challenges we have is every single store we have has different capacity capabilities for us to ship ready-to-sell merchandise to the back room. We can change up our front-end store arrangements and our presentations, but the fact is that our back rooms are really what support those sales. So our ability to understand that sell down and our flow in at front ends and end of inventory positioning is very, very important to avoid red lines and markdowns. This has typically been how most companies have employed it, is just put everything on sale that needs to go down so we can make space for seasonal goods. That's not a good approach, and you'll find that a lot of the companies out there that have employed sophisticated price markdown optimization types of software have found that there is a lot more intelligent ways to approach this. But even knowing what to do, you still have to execute it. And most importantly, the failure I've seen even with those products, because I've sold them to companies, is the fact that they don't communicate that information back up across the supply chain, again, to get everybody on the same page. So I understand that my DC to store works really great, but my associates don't have time for put away, and they don't want to stay 2.5 hours every night just to clean up and reset the back room and reset the floors. particularly in a lot of brands where you really only have one or two associates. This is challenging. You need to bring efficiency even more to them than we do to stores that have a very large labor force per se. Also, this is a great way, by maximizing this opportunity, you're able to understand where and how you can easily access products. So again, your time away from the customer is much, much less. Remember that inventory positions can be seen on an iPad in front of the customer. So they know that instead of searching back to find out that it's not there, if this is the store, if this is the particular SKU that this customer is set on, the smart thing to do is let them try size, even in another color, to get that exact fit. If he's successful or she's successful in this endeavor and wants to buy the brown instead of the black, this is where having the ability to access an online order, much like anyone else would in your omni-channels, and have it delivered next day through a fast free shipping or however your company approaches this, is a great way to convert sales that today are being lost opportunities. Sending from another store, asking them to come back when you move the inventory store to store, is really very inefficient and costly, and not the right way to create a customer experience today. So what do? We understand that by utilizing our solution, we are helping people do directed putaways in our back room in a fraction of the time that they're actually having to do it today. That allows them to spend more time on the floor with customers and less time before and after hours fighting into that long day that they're going to spend on customers. The focus we want them to have is really, really all about serving the customer, whether in sales, on the support side, or really even in the freight management side. Organization, even in high activity periods, is so important because understanding exactly where the inventory is and being able to quickly recover it and reassume your position with the customer is paramount, particularly now that we're coming into the holiday season. Traffic will be up. We don't get to pick our battles, as us people who have come out of retail sales used to say. We actually have to be very quick, nimble, think quick. We don't want to rush the customers when we have them in front of us. We want to bring more efficiency to the experience. That converts sales. It leaves people with a better concept of our brand promise so that when they are out in the social world or wherever discussions occur, the formulation that they are giving to our brand is something that is raising our brand potential and actually getting people to want to engage in our brand potential. So who is really the 800-pound elephant that nobody wants to talk about? Well, we all know that it's lost opportunity. Everything else is tangible. But no one has really significantly come up with a way not only to capture lost opportunity, but to manage lost opportunity. It's an amazingly intangible metric that is probably the most meaningful area of improvement that we can do. Remember, we've spent a lot of money getting people to come into our store or even to come to one of our omni-channels. The most important thing that we do is make conversion on that customer and try and build the market basket and that specific buy by introducing them to adjacent items that really potentially can build out the level of the revenue that they'll spend in our operations today. So the 800-pound elephant, how do we measure this metric today? Well, there's been rudimentary approaches like we do floor counts, we do door counts. We actually look at ups as far as different types of ways we poll our sales associates. These are all very ineffective because so many people are still stuck in that, may I help you today? No, I'm just looking. Well, honestly, I've always said, retail stores are not museums. People don't come to admire the art. They're there for a reason. They are a potential buyer. They went through a lot of trouble to park that car, walk wherever they did, and actually engage your retail operation. This is your opportunity to make something better than I'm just looking or I'm just browsing. So the best way to measure this metric is we give you an opportunity of engagement. We also give you an opportunity to be able to access much more social and relevant conversations with these customers that open a different type of engagement opportunity. Because when they see you less as a threat and more as a member of the community and just a normal sort of person trying to be friendly and engage with them and you want to help them, they're much more willing to open up and be very direct about why they're there and what they're really looking for. And again, by engaging people with a device, there's a lot of value in that because people are visual. You could describe that, oh, it's got this sort of look, or when you say brown, Pantone and other companies have made millions of dollars of their fortune on showing that just in the brown, quote unquote, area that there's 166 color temperatures. What exact color are we talking about? So the ability to show a high definition, accurate look at what we're talking about is a great value. It helps people project owning that product and what it would look like on a particular person. There's also ways by using this that we can communicate messages that could be lost in the moment to our actual sales associates. Such things as relevant events happening in town today, promotions that we are running, potentially slow-moving stock that we'd like to feature, stories about vendors that we're supporting, the difference of things like explaining answers to questions such as, why does durability matter? And what type of wear factor am I going to get? We all know that different lasts within the shoe industry are going to fit different feet as much as everybody has a different amount of hairs on their head. Well, the fact of it is this is an opportunity for us to really, really narrow down, help people understand what really fits them, what are the options, do I have it in stock? Because that old school saying of having the right product at the right place at the right time and at the right price only mildly applies today. It really is about executing that whole endeavor to a whole different level, and that's customer experience. So really the presentation, organization, engagement, efficient access, quick ability to knowing it's in stock in a backroom position, knowing exactly where that position is. So the collection of 2 to 3 boxes of shoes is a matter of really less than a minute. That's much better than the 5 minutes that today we're away from that customer, particularly when times are busy and you're actually having to stop to tell other customers who haven't been addressed yet that you'll be right with. So what does it all come back to? It comes back to a better buying experience and a better customer experience. People want to feel special. They want to be entertained. This is a way to engage them in a much greater level. And oh, by the way, if you are dealing with millennials who today are probably the most growing segment of our buying population in the footwear area, whether it be for club wear, for work wear, for just basic casual wear, these people are tuned into a digital world. They would find it very warming and reassuring to engage in an iPad-led experience with somebody who can guide them to what they want. They also tend to be very impatient. They're used to having access to information and what they want in a moment's notice. A lot of them use their phones to do over 75% of their purchases today. So we need to understand that customer and accept the opportunity that comes with it. So why is adjacent purchases important? We've always talked about it, but today companies in their merchandising schemes, going all the way back to line planning and their PLM and that sort, or their buying habits within the assortment, have really, really focused on being able to establish the brand identity through collections, or what we call platforms. Well, that could actually be shoes, leather belts, leather purse, leather key fobs. Companies out there today who are really doing a good job at engaging the customers. There's numbers of them that have found that the more easily they can make it for people to purchase multiple items is the best way to be able to convert higher sales. Well, in a way, you could do this even if the vendor initially didn't think about it. Become that style advocate for them. In other words, talk to them about a personalized experience that you think would look good with them. Let them know why the purse and the shoes really should, at least if not match, be associated. Understanding why for a man a belt and his shoes are important, that it's all on the same page as part of his presentation. These are things that help people understand why you're differentiated than your customers. But more importantly, remember, you spend X dollars to get me through your door. Here is your opportunity to get more out of my pocket than probably not, because I'm in an emotionally engaged, available time frame right now. I am looking to basically spend money on something that will not only make me feel better about myself, but satisfying needs and requirements I may have is due to work or social activities that I have upcoming. So the whole concept of engaging with me in a very different way is more and more important. We have to stretch the boundaries. We have to improve the value of what we're offering to our customers and potential customers if we want to go out and fight for what's called that undecided marketplace, where customers today do not have a lot of brand loyalty. Just as important to that, our core customers that have supported our brands over the years, we need to bring something fresh and new to their experience so they continue to be defined with our brand and remain loyal and put their buying dollars into our brand. So an efficient end-to-end process does become important, all the way from ideation to planning processes, the ability to execute on those and flow inventory efficiently, and also understand the trends that are occurring at a store level. And do that efficiently, because that exchange of information closes the loop. And it makes us better, allows us to be more engaged with the customer, entertain the customer, and make our whole experience to them and our brand much more meaningful. That is the brand promise. And what everybody asks is, how can I get engaged? We're here to help you. Our depth of experience in the retail industry, you'll find, outweighs most vendors that you will talk about. Most people have tools and solutions for you to use, but it's that intelligence, knowledge, and experience that we can share with you to help you become much more profitable and much more attaining of your goals in your industry. Robert, why don't you go ahead and speak with them a little bit about what our company has to offer.
Thank you, Mitch. I appreciate it. What I want to talk to is give you a little bit of an overview on SPAN. SPAN has been around for a while. Retail expertise. We engage people like Mitch. What I want to talk to is sort of our process of what we do, our stability, our domain expertise, our technology, and our client engagement. So as you can see off to the right-hand side, in the technology world, we have certain offshore centers, 2 different cities in India. We also have offices in the United States. We have in Texas, San Francisco, New York. On our offshore centers, we have some of the important certifications that people look for, like the CMMI Level 5, the PCMMI Level 5, the ISO 9000s 2008, ISO 2701 2005. We have over 2 decades, and this is important to speak to, but we have over 2 decades of IT solutions providing. We have 2.3 billion. We're owned by part of a $2.3 billion Norwegian company with over 10,000 employees. This factor right here, the 7th best IT employer in India, is very strong. A lot of the people that do business with us find that has very good sustainability, which what that means is when we start projects with people, we're in for the long haul. You'll be dealing with the same people. We don't change people on projects. We have the longevity, the knowledge, and these are the same people you'll be dealing with day in, day out. Some of the vertical focuses, excuse my cough, we're very strong in our banking and finance, insurance, healthcare, retail space, and independent software vendors. We've dealt with everybody from the Fortune 3 in the retail world to some of the largest banking and financial and healthcare facilities in the United States and Europe. This goes into some of our product engineering and application services. We do independent testing. We do DW, BI, and analytics. We also take over and helped with complete infrastructure management. So we've helped with the bottom line of the complete infrastructure, helped you maximize the process of the way your infrastructure is run. We've helped manage, implement, test, and run ERP tools. In the marketplace, a lot of people buy large ERP tools. We are not just vertically and industry specific, but our ERP knowledge and domain knowledge helps you utilize the ERP tools that you have in place 100%. You find in the industry a lot of people are, well, we just need this part of the ERP tool, and I think that you're missing part of that. And then this sort of differentiates us in the marketplace also. The relationship model. We are management focused. We focus on what your business goals are first. And what we try to do is find out what is the best resolution to your management focus and your business goals at each level. We have a governance team. We have innovative pricing. You know, there's a lot of people in the marketplace that say, okay, we're going to do specific pricing for this project. Well, a lot of times our innovative pricing helps out with that because we'll go off of what you're trying to accomplish compared to our business model. And so you'll see in our pavilion model, and we can talk in depth on this, but it is, you know, a tailored billing model to compare to what your accomplishment needs are in the marketplace. And that also differentiates us very greatly in the marketplace. It's sort of a quick 30,000-foot view of our expertise and where we play and who we've played with and so forth. Mitch, do you have anything else to add?
I think only that, you know, there's been major retailers that we have engaged with, and certainly what they have found is that we're very in touch with their needs and requirements, but also in the cadence of their ability to come to the project. So if you are at issue with potentially having a low ability to, you know, supply the type of folks that are needed within your enterprise to support a project, we can help you in those areas. We have very qualified individuals that have the support of our whole company and folks like myself to be able to really address very specific needs. So again, even if there is something that you're thinking about potentially where you could use the help, you don't have the types of folks that you need on site to really do the type of support of the project that you need, we can help you all the way from program management to project management to coding, all the way through the different physical SI functions and different types of services that you may need, whether it be short-term or long-term. Look to SPAN. We have a great role of our clients that speak very highly of us.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Mitch. That's a great differentiating factor with SPAN. What SPAN brings to the table is we know the products, but we also know the retail environment. And that's a huge differentiating factor. A lot of people that supply you with tools, people, knowledge, so forth, we come and bring the retail experience and the background in this vertical to you to help you. for us, it's more of a partnership, right? It's more of a business focus. All right, Mitch, anything else before we take questions?
No, I think that's all I had, Robert. We can open it up to questions, and I'm happy to answer them.
We do have a couple questions. The first question that we have is, can the solution integrate with other POS or marketing systems? So
that's a very, very good question, actually, because I think it's very important to understand that today being able to leverage all of that knowledge and information be at the fingertips of people instead of depending on having to walk to a POS cash wrap or what have you and wait for another associate to get clear is ultimately important in creating a good customer experience. So yes, we absolutely can not only integrate into a basic POS, but we can also integrate into the whole omni-channel presentation of unique assortments, as well as have a on-the-spot transactional capability, which is really what people are trying to do today. In the old days, we used to have lane busters. Well, we've taken that to a whole nother level, because think about the fact that from the moment I sit down and share with you my needs and requirements, it would be wonderful for us to be able to go through the options, to be able to go through the fit and style review, be able to physically experience the product as much as possible, make a buying decision, and then consummate that decision, even if it has to be shipped from somewhere else within my company's supply chain. That's what I'm looking for, because I want to close the loop on the buying experience. So absolutely we can do that.
Great, Mitch. Thank you. That's a great point and great question, because everybody knows that when you're having a buying experience and you're going into a shoe store, for example, and you sit down, being able to know right away, especially like the millennials we spoke about earlier, was their attention span is 1/4 of what it used to be. And being able to give them relevance, decision making on the spot, and purchasing power is very key, and so it can absolutely integrate into those systems. See, we have next one. Can we access our web commerce platform to order and delivery via omni-channel fulfillment?
Again, this depends on the structure of how you have set up those channels, but in most retailers today, the answer is absolutely. Remember that today you're fighting Zappos, you're fighting Amazon, and companies that are very formidable out there in that whole web experience. The value of the web experience is, again, to curb lost opportunity. But there's also other things, because remember that sometimes brick and mortar can be somewhat siloed in its merchandising and promotional practices than what some of the omni-channels really can. I think it's a great value for a floor associate to be able to not only access that, but understand the focus of the individual omni-channel and understand as well the focused and inventory position of their actual company. So yes, not only can you basically address the full web e-commerce platform, but you can see the marketing platform, which I think is very important today. It's a big focus really for every retailer out there, is to make sure that their placement on pages, their ability to communicate in the web domain, in the digital experience, is top of mind everywhere. Allow your floor associates to engage in that and be able to partake of that, to be able to make a better offering to the customer and a more intelligent and complete offering as well. It will increase the personalization by a scale of 10.
All right, and we got one more question, and I think this is a key question that's sitting on everybody's mind, especially if you got multiple locations, multiple brick and mortar stores, so forth, is how hard is it to train our associates on the solution that they'll be using on a daily basis?
That is a great question. I know that e-learning has taken on a whole new meaning out there, but there's so much challenge really in associates' ability to learn. They could be very good in their skill sets to be successful in their people skills, but potentially some of their ability to learn anything with complexity has been very challenging. One of the things that we want is adoption and full utilization of any solution that's bought today in the software world. One of the things that we strongly have focused on is to make this very intuitive, very easy, following the way that just normal people think, not computer-savvy people, and being able to gain access and control in a way that it makes them look very professional in front of customers. And most importantly, because we know that there can be a lot of churn, at the operational store level, one of the things we want to make sure is how many days to full execution capability can a new associate actually have, particularly when we're hiring seasonal-based employees to help out on the floor. You'll find that we have changed the whole dynamic. We challenge companies out there to allow us to show you how easy people can learn this, even if they don't have resident computer skills or understand different types of operating systems. This is about as simple as sliced bread, and we welcome the opportunity to show you. And as far as the value, I don't think we really need to focus on that much. We all know that the quicker people come up and the more they utilize what's available to them and really adopt it, the more successful your company.
Yeah, and I agree, Mitch, that this is, I had that question come up to me, and with the buying ages, and where the dollar amount spent in the millennials, the most of the decision makers, the expendable incomes of a 17 to 28-year-old female, you look at this as training employees. If they can run a smartphone, they can run the application, right? So it's very trainable. It's very easy. You got to make it so that they understand it. The ease is there. The customer interaction is quick, simplified, and you'll see that I just use that as an example, but if you can run a smartphone, you can run this easily. Would you say, Mitch?
Yeah, I would agree, Robert. And I think one thing to realize is because this is so visual, they're not having to take ownership of anything heavily conceptual. What they can do is allow the customer to start driving the sale instead of them pushing that big rock up the hill.
Absolutely. Well, that is all the questions I have so far. If there's anything else, go ahead and shoot it away. But Mitch, I want to thank you very much.
Appreciate it very much. My pleasure.
And I want to thank everybody else in attendance. And if you have any other questions, please follow up with us, or we will follow up with you. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.